Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שברחים גם יחד. 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 How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שברחים גם יחד. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. שלום עליכם, סלאם עליכום. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. How good it is, how sweet it is, to be together on this stage. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים שברחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב people, gather us. In hope for all people, surround us. In peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Make of us a house for all people, gather us. In hope for all people, surround us. In peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech adon lechol shalom. Ki ata melech adon lechol shalom. Lechol shalom. Make of us a house for all people, gather us. In hope for all people, surround us. In peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Make of us a house. Make of us a house for all people, gather us. In hope for all people, surround us. In peace for all people, in wholeness and in love.
In the words of the prophet Isaiah, we aim to make this a house for all who might come to visit, to dwell, to worship here. And as we like to say, whether it's your first time or you're a veteran member, you've always belonged right here. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Temple Israel. Welcome to those of you who are joining us in person. Welcome to those of you who are joining us via the live stream. We're so glad that you are here as part of our community and our congregation on this evening as well. I'm Rabbi Michael Friedman, pleased to be joined by Cantor Julia Cadrain and Rabbi Zach Pleasant, and our musicians this evening, Mike and Malin and Mary and Mike, helping our hearts soar, helping us elevate our souls. Such a beautiful way to enter the weekend and to celebrate Shabbat. It is just about almost dark outside. Just the start of Shabbat right now. And what do we do when it gets dark outside? We light some candles. We bring light into the world because our world always needs more and more light. And so Chloe, you'll become bat mitzvah tomorrow. This evening we want to invite you forward to light our Shabbat candles. Page 120. Another way we bring light into this congregation, this sanctuary, into our lives is through the power of song, our voices uniting across the pews, through the screens and with others in other congregations at the same time who are lifting their voices also in greeting Shabbat. So we'll continue with Kabbalat Shabbat, page 131. Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash, Shiru Adonai, Shiru Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God. Sing unto God, and we'll all sing along. All the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru, Shiru, Adonai. Shiru, Shiru, Adonai. I will sing unto God a new song. Page 140. Mizmor shir le'yom haShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, tov lehodot l'Adonai, tov lehodot l'Adonai, lezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor shir le'yom haShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Lehagid baboker, lehagid baboker, baboker chasrecha, ve'emunacha b'alilot. Lehagid baboker, baboker chasrecha, ve'emunacha b'alilot. Mizmor shir le'yom haShabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, tov lehodot l'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Lehagid baboker, lehagid baboker, baboker chasrecha, ve'emunacha b'alilot. Lehagid baboker, baboker chasrecha, ve'emunacha b'alilot. Lehagid baboker, baboker chasrecha, ve'emunacha b'alilot. By now, perhaps we're thinking about everything that happened this week. Perhaps we're carrying with us into this space all the ups and downs of the week, all of the triumphs and all of the disappointments, both in our personal lives and the news that seems to reach us at every single possible moment. So I invite us to take a breath and to hold on to whatever makes you smile from this past week, whatever made you smile. And perhaps try just to put on the side whatever didn't, whatever disappointed you. And this is a way we can make room to welcome into our midst the metaphorical Shabbat beloved. Make room for that joy and that peace and that rest that we call Shabbat. We'll turn back one page to pages 138 and 139, verses 1, 2, and 5, and then we will rise for the 9th verse, welcoming our Shabbat beloved into our sanctuary.
Am segula
remain standing in body or spirit and turn to page 146 for Baruch Hu.
Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la.
Please be seated. There is one who sings the song of his own life, finding everything within himself. There is one who leaves the circle of herself and sings the song of her people. There is one whose voice rings with the song of humanity, hoping for the highest perfection. And there is one who rises even higher, uniting with all creatures, with all worlds, filling the universe with song. Nivarech, let us bless, page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam Beshiftecha beveitecha, uvlechtecha vaderech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam lehot al yadecha, behayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, va'asitem et kol mitzvotai, Vitem kedoshim le'olechem, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'elohim, Ani Adonai Elohechem, Adonai Elohechem emet.
The words we just chanted say you should love God with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your soul, with all your might. And you should do all of God's commandments. Well, this is one of the strangest. And we Jews are supposed to take this thing called an etrog, and these three branches of a palm, a willow, and a myrtle, and on this holiday of Sukkot, put them together and shake them in every direction. We've been doing it for forever, from the earliest days of our people. And one of the things that we've been doing, yes, with shock and surprise, yes, one of the things that we've been doing as over the course of the many, many, many centuries, the 3 millennia at least, that we've been waving the lulav and etrog, is we've been trying to figure out why we do this. We've been trying to reinterpret it. What's interesting is in the process of reinterpretation, we've perhaps even come back to to the very beginning, where it began. Originally, this was a symbol of harvest abundance. As a way of sort of encouraging the earth to send forth its abundance from every different direction. Well, today, ensuring the health of our earth is a top priority for so many of us. We know that our earth is ailing, and this may not literally help the earth, but first of all of these things are sustainable. This is not taking food from everybody. Nobody eats an etrog. The tree produces plenty of them. Same thing with no trees were cut down or harmed in the taking of these leaves. Okay? But hopefully, this is a reminder of all the different abundance that comes to us from the earth in every different direction of the compass. Downstairs, after the service, everyone will have a chance to shake and wave the lulav and etrog. I want to invite you to join me in the blessing at this point. So we'll say the blessing together, and then when we go downstairs after the service in the sukkah, we'll all have the opportunity to shake. So the blessing is Baruch Atah Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech haolam.
Eloheinu melech haolam,
Asher kitshanu.
asher kitshanu,
B'mitzvotav.
b'mitzvotav,
Vitzivanu.
v'tzivanu,
Al.
al,
Netilat.
netilat,
Lulav.
lulav.
And this is how you do it. You take the two of them together and you shake it in front, to the right 3 times. Yeah, you want to do it? Behind you, to the left, way up high, and then you don't point it down to the ground, but you do it low. What's that? Toward the ground, exactly, but not pointing to the ground, exactly. And then you've completed the mitzvah. Later, we'll all have a chance to do that together.
So we'll move to page 152 and sing Mi Chamocha to a melody special just for Sukkot, just for right now, for this moment.
158.
Oh, thank you. 158. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha. So another Sukkot tradition is to build these fragile huts or booths, Sukkot. And this word, sukkah, also exists in our Hashkivenu prayer. A sukkah is a fragile, vulnerable shelter. And that's what we ask God to spread around us, a fragile shelter of peace, with the understanding that peace is often elusive and temporary and fleeting. And with acceptance of all of that, we ask God for a shelter of peace in this moment. I want to say that it's, thank you. I just knew what I was looking at was not right. Page 160. Baruch atah Adonai haborei sukkot shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol hamo, ve'al Yerushalayim, shalom. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukkot shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu, peace over us. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
Another tradition that we have during the week of Sukkot is called ushpizin. We invite people into our sukkah. Traditionally, there are 7 men, and we've added 7 women who we invite into our sukkah. But this idea of welcoming guests, welcoming people into our sukkot, into our lives, is one that traces back really to the theme of ancestry, which is what the Amidah, or the beginning of the Amidah, is about. So as we start on page 164, and then we continue through page 166 and 168, I'm inviting you all to think about who are your ushpizin, who are the people that you would want to invite into your sukkah, into your actual sukkah, or into your lives this week. Ancestry, legacy, any of those themes from the Amidah and from Sukkot are okay answers. So think about, as we pray and acknowledge our ancestry as a collective Jewish people, who are the folks that you would like to have in your sukkah with you? In body or spirit, on page 164, we rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל, אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מחלקל חיים בחסד, וחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידות מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, נאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, קדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. Just as Kendrick Adrain mentioned, the sukkah is supposed to be fragile. we acknowledge that our lives are fragile. And there are those in our lives, in our communities, those we love, who are in need of healing. Healing of mind or body or spirit. So if there's someone whose name you would like to say out loud and bring their name and their spirit into this community, please do so for Misha Berach as I move across the room. As a temple community, we're thinking of Yisrael, Avraham Ben-Hia Rachel, Marta Adams, Matthew Burstein, Eva Cooper, Carol Dichter, William Dichter, Frida Easton, Steve Elliott, Louise Friedman, Maurice Friedman, Rhoda Friedland, Jackie Fuchs, Laney Gans, Jeff Helfand, David Hidalgo, Penny Castley, Natalie Kellner, Phyllis Kamansky, Sheldon Manspieser, Don Matthews, Barbara Nash, Stephen Newworth, Alan Nevis, Harry Picard, Carol Randall, Robbie Regano, Deborah Lynn Ross, Sandy Schenker, Tibby Scher, Stan Stern, Eric Stiskin, Esther Stone, Giotto Tamakuwala, Joan Wetzler, Yocheved Sarah Bat Etzel, Moshe Yaakov ben Yocheved, and Shimon Eliyahu ben Avraham Basera. For those names you've said out loud and those we still hold in our hearts, this Misha Berach is for them all. Page 371.
Find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say we take the next few moments for personal prayer and reflection using the words in your book or the words of your heart. Ecclesiastes wrote, La kol zman, to everything there is a season. La kol zman.
Friends, a question this evening. Can you name a story in the Torah that takes place indoors? Can you name a story in the Torah that takes place indoors? Ed, is that half a hand raised? No, it's not. Hands. Can you name a story in the Torah that takes place? Well, first of all, can you name a story in the Torah? The answer is yes, you can. You can. But many of the ones that come to mind take place out of doors. What's one that takes place indoors?
One of the Esther stories.
Oh, Esther. That's true. A lot of Esther does take place indoors. Not part of the Torah. Part of the rest of the Hebrew Bible, true. But the Torah, the first 5 books. Well, Garden of Eden, indoors. Adam and Eve? No. Noah? Right, but there's actually, if you look at the text of the Torah, there's no narration of what took place inside the ark, interestingly enough. Okay, so everything is about building the ark, getting the animals in, rains come, etc., etc. Yeah.
Isn't Abraham and his father shop?
Great. It's midrash, which means it's a rabbinic story about the stories in the Torah. So it doesn't. They're filling in gaps. Okay. I can tell you that there are probably a couple, but you have to go through all of Abraham's stories take place outdoors, pretty much. Isaac, Jacob, etc. Yeah. Yes, there is. So in a tent. Great. Some parts, well, there are parts of Jacob's story that take place in a tent. A couple of parts. Not all of them, but a couple of parts. But it seems pretty clear that they're in a tent. What about in a real structure, in a full indoor structure? There's only a couple of them that I've identified. One is when Joseph, Jacob's son, goes down to Egypt and he becomes second in command of all of Egypt. We imagine those scenes taking place in Pharaoh's palace, especially when his brothers come to ask him for food and he tests them, etc. Those take place in Pharaoh's palace. And then what about if you think about the Passover Haggadah and you tell the story Any of that take place indoors? I'm going to suggest that there's one aspect that takes place indoors. Exactly. Good job, Lee. When Moses goes to Pharaoh to say, let my people go, we imagine that's also indoors. Pretty much, though, after we leave Egypt, everything else, the journey through the desert and receiving the commandments and all of the happenings through the desert and Moses' speech at the end of Deuteronomy, outdoors, 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 outdoors. 95% of the Torah, I will suggest to you, takes place outdoors. What do we conclude from that? What might we conclude from that? What's that? Tents are important, you said? Oh, so part of the reason I'm asking the question is that we're in the midst of a holiday where we go outside and we build this structure. Okay, there's a reason why I'm asking these questions on Sukkot. Okay, yeah.
We like being outside in the nature.
That's right. We being.
And like there's not so much structure they find, so they have to do what they have.
I love that.
Like make do with what they have.
Exactly. Make do with what we have outside. We like being outside in nature. Yeah. We love being able to enjoy the beauty of nature. That's part of why we have windows outside of our sanctuary. Of course, it's dark outside now, but yeah, what else?
The inside is usually mostly for like the pharaohs and that type of stuff. So the slaves couldn't enter, so they had to stay outside. And slaves are like the main part of the story. So.
That's such a good idea. The indoor parts of the Torah are all in the palace of a non-Jewish king. Interesting. Okay, not just in somebody's house, not in a friendly house, but in the palace of a non-Jewish king. A little scary, right? Who made us slaves? A little scary. Pharaoh, exactly. Exactly. Any other thoughts about why all of it's outdoors? What are we supposed to conclude from this? I love this. I think of all of the aspects of Judaism that our ancient ancestors would have found strange today, perhaps the strangest would have been that we come inside to worship God. The stories in the Torah that they told are outdoors in part because that's where they went to experience God. They had a view of God as expansive, not contained in any one space. In fact, the only spaces that were contained, those palaces, are the home of a king. But our God, what we call in rabbinic tradition the King of Kings, beyond any earthly king, is only found outdoors, according to the Torah. Earthly palaces are for kings of flesh and blood. But what are we supposed to do as Jews? We're supposed to make the entire world a palace for God. Not with walls and bricks and mortar, but with our deeds and our actions and our words and how we treat one another. We're supposed to make the entire world the proper home for God. We're especially reminded of that here on Sukkot. After the service, we'll have goodies. We'll shake the lulav and etrog outside in our sukkah, our beautiful sukkah. Some of us were here on Sunday constructing it. Yep. And it's housed all sorts of, you guys, I know, all sorts of kids, young and old, adults, men and women, clergy, et cetera, throughout this week. Exactly. We have lots of goodies and stuff downstairs. For us, it's strange to go outside. It's like we're exposing ourselves to nature. It's a sign of fragility. But for our ancients, I think it was the opposite. It was a sign of protection. When most of their lives, most of the Torah was outside, for them, the sukkah was actually a symbol of protection, not of fragility. So, yes, one more before I...
Was because since Pharaoh or whoever was leading them, he was mostly inside.
Pharaoh was inside, exactly, and we were outside. Yeah. One more, and then before I wrap up, one more comment.
Outside is like what God created.
Uh-huh.
We didn't really create these structures.
I love it. Outside is all of God's creation, and that's where we can find God. Okay, last one, I promise. Yes.
Egyptians, they made things for their god to worship.
Exactly.
Their god.
Right.
They made like all these like statues and all these other things.
Right. The Egyptians made statues. Do we make statues of God?
No,
We do not. Right.
because we don't know what God even looks like.
Exactly. I would say we don't believe that God can be contained or depicted in any particular drawing or any sculpture or perhaps even in any building. I know we come in here to pray, and that's great, and perhaps the best thing of it is that we do it together, but we shouldn't confuse this place with where God dwells. God dwells everywhere. And it's our job to make the entire world a fitting home, a fitting dwelling, a fitting palace, we might even say, for the King of Kings, for God, God's self. May we always work to make it so. Amen. Friends, memory accompanies us throughout the path of life and through the cycle of the Jewish year. This year just begun has already given us one opportunity to remember those who have passed in the year that's gone by, the year 5782 and the beginning of 5783. And here at the end, toward the end of Sukkot, we have another opportunity for Yizkor, for our service of memory, for an opportunity to remember those who passed in the last 365 days, in the Jewish year 5782, and the beginning of 5783. So on this evening of Yizkor, we remember those we've lost from the Temple Israel community in the past year: Edward Abali, Doris Brucato, Terrence Brumer, Ellen Cohen, Roberta Cooper, Marcia M. Fishman-Weiss, Sandra Gannon Katz, Bonnie Garber, Ted Gladstone, Marilyn Glosserman, Barbara Goldstein, Albert Gordon, Jerome Greenberg, Edward Haynick, Bradford Nolan Hammer, Ruth Jean Block Harris, Ruth Harris, Gloria Hausman, Peter Hort, Brigida Christina Clavins, David Kamansky, Marilyn Lashin-Weil, Jim Muller, Bernard Nussbaum, Catherine Nicola Olshan, Francine Grace Plaza, Randy Potak, Madeline Redlick, Sam Richter, Arlene Rosenthal, Marvin Schwartz, Richard Schuster, Howard Siegel, Rhoda Singer, Joel Smilo, Mike Stashauer, Laura Trachtenberg-Strauss, Elihu Turgel, Michael Vesed, Jerry Weinstein, John Weiss, Lois Wiener, Ellen Wisser, Judith Wistrel, Joseph Zine, and we note the recent passing of Ruth Finn Ocean as well. If there's anyone else here who has lost a family member, a friend, or loved one in the past year and would like to add their name to those we've just read, we invite you to do so at this time. Thank you. In addition, we also observe Shloshim and Yartzeit. So we're in the midst of observing Shiva and Shloshim for Jerome Weinstein, father of Claudia, Cohen, and Art, and grandfather of Sam, Cassie, and Amanda. Ellen Wisser, Rhoda Singer, wife of Al, mother of Sharon and Jeff Fireman, grandmother of Elon and Hannah, and Mike Stashauer, husband of Gloria, father of Susan and Paul, Debbie and Michael, John and Allison, and grandfather of Jordan, Scott, and Matthew. So too, we observe the yahrzeit, the anniversary of the passing on this Shabbat of Paula Bauer, Ruth Becker, Rabbi Barry Friedman, Thomas Galai, Gary Gelser, Martin Grossman, Ellen Canner, Jack Keitel, Nady Kushner, Edward Lau Jr., Jacqueline Marks, Phyllis Bregman Olin, Dorothy Patterson, Anna Lebo Rosen, Jerome Roth, Sylvia Rubenfein, Eliezer Schindler, Sheila Schwartz, Benjamin Sind, Herman Stein, Florence Supowitz, Francis Swerdell, and David Weiskopf. May all those whom we have lost recently and at this time and years gone by always be a blessing. We rise as one congregation for these words of Mourner's Kaddish. Page 598.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divrach v'irutei ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chayed achol Beit Yisrael, v'gala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'mei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudusha b'richu, leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran v'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, v'yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen.
May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all humanity. And we say together, Amen. Well, tomorrow morning will be a very joyous celebration as Chloe Gross becomes bat mitzvah. Chloe, come join us up here so you can help us bless the juice and the challah. Just a question, your Torah portion, does it take place inside or outside? Outside. How do you know? What happens?
Because it's on Mount Sinai.
It's on top of Mount Sinai, so outside. I love it, exactly. See? All right, we're going to bring these forward. Here,
We'll raise a glass, metaphorical or literal.
Cantor, Rabbi, there we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei puri hagafen. L'chaim, you can take a sip.
Take a sip. Here's the microphone for the motzi. I'll take that from you. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lehem min haaretz.
Thank you, Chloe.
Well done. Thank you. You can take some challah to your family. Yep.
Just rip a big piece.
Page 664.
Yeah.
To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.